Bro, this is not okay. So a couple of nights ago, I saw this, and I don't care what side you're on. I don't care what your political affiliation. If I see nonsense, I'm gonna call out nonsense. Because if we have these whiny, triggered 2016 leftist right-wingers, because you're becoming the same thing, do these types of things, you are setting yourself up for failure. Now, I saw Baring do this video, and I watch his stuff. I like him. I think he's a cool dude. But this was a terrible take, man. Like, what were you thinking? And I'm gonna get into it. For starters, he's calling out the Young Turks over the video they made about a cop in Seattle who ran over a protester while he was walking his bike. He ran it over his head. And the Young Turks completely misrepresented the video and exaggerated it for effect. So I do agree with the premise that they're exaggerating it to rile people up. But right now, I can't tell if you actually think this is a joke, or you're trying to be a contrarian to the Young Turks, where you go, they said it, so I say the opposite. So I'm gonna show you the video of what happened. Okay, now we're gonna take a look at what he has to say, and some of these comments are, oh my god. These are the brain-dead right-wingers in these comments. We're gonna look at this. Alright, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna skip over the Young Turks video, just for the sake of time. I'll leave his whole video in the link so you can go make sure I am not misrepresenting anything. But okay, show me how this is a fucking joke, please.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about some fuckhead getting his head run over by a cop on a bike. Right?
This is already a horrible tone to start out with, my guy. Because you really are making it sound like this is a fucking joke, and I'm gonna tell you why this isn't a fucking joke. Because this will backfire on the right so badly.
And I'm just gonna give you a warning, this video is really difficult to watch.
Yeah, and I'm just going to give you this heads up. It's not really difficult to watch. It's actually quite fucking funny.
Bro, when everything is this volatile, this shit right here is not funny. Now, there are a lot of goofy and funny things that happen in these protests and riots, but these are not one of them, and minimizing this is counterproductive.
I mean, how do you not see that guy on the ground? Of course he did.
Yeah, he might have. But I think the better question is, why was that fucking idiot laying on the road? I mean, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, right? Fuck.
Okay, when dealing with law enforcement, this is absolutely insane. So this is an example of civil disobedience. They've done this before, where they lay on the ground, they say, I can't breathe. Where does it say it's okay that the cops can do that to you because you're acting a fool? And let me explain how this is going to backfire. If you go back to the Vietnam War, I'm going back to war history because this is what I know. We had, to create the illusion that we were winning, we had kill quotas. It wasn't about winning the war, it was about racking up that sweet KD. In the process, we made one fatal mistake. We started to kill civilians, and for every civilian we killed, we created 5 Viet Cong. Same principle here. That guy was actually peacefully protesting, and even if he was in the riot before this, that does not make that okay. The guy's not a threat. You can't do that to him. So when the dumbass conservatives, I'm not saying you're conservative, but the dumbass conservatives that laugh at this, guess what? This kid's parents, their uncle, their family members could have been a pro-police Trump voter, and they see the police treat their child that way, and you could shift their entire family to go, okay, you know what? Fuck the police. That video will go around of a guy on his stomach, not doing anything, and the cop just rolling the bike over his head for no fucking reason. And don't give me any, you're not gonna find any justifiable reason to do that when the guy's on the ground and not a threat. That video is gonna spread, and you're gonna create more protesters and more rioters. Because people are gonna see the conservative reaction of going, ha, what an idiot, and now you're making more of them. Good job. You guys should stand up and go, hey, that's not cool, that cop shouldn't do that. Unless you think police brutality is okay when it's against your enemies. Which is where I'm like, you're starting to turn into the left at this point. In the way the left says, abolish the police, fuck the police. Then when the left bullies the police into doing what they say, they love them. Same way when the police stomp on people's rights, especially Second Amendment rights, etc., and the conservatives are mad and go hold them accountable. And then when this happens, they laugh. You're playing a game where every side loses.
What I do know is that the cop who decided to ride his bike over his head and neck had complete disregard for his life and wasn't interested in protecting and serving anyone.
I listen to Anna being all concerned about violence. She doesn't give a fuck when people's businesses are burned down. She doesn't give a fuck when conservatives are mowed down in the street by nutjob lefties. In fact, she defends it. She doesn't give a fuck when anyone other than her guys are harmed in any way. It was a fucking idiot who got his head run over by a bicycle. Good, it's funny, fuck him.
Hey guys, remember when the Australian police went into that chick Zoe's house for posting about a gathering during COVID and they kicked in the door and arrested her? Good, fuck her. She shouldn't be planning gatherings during COVID. Or is the state abusing its power okay when it's against people you don't like? Because you defend that lady for free speech. He can protest. He can get in front of the bikes. They saw him. He can take part in civil disobedience. And look, I don't give a fuck about what Anna said. She's an idiot. We know she's gonna play sides, but you're doing the same thing. We all know the Young Turks is cancer. Look, I don't know how you guys over there do things in kangaroo world, but over here we don't allow that clown shit. That cop knowingly and willingly did what he did, and he should be fired for that. Because during this time, when tensions are so high, and you see a cop do that to a guy that's unarmed, what's gonna happen to a dude that maybe is a bit more aggressive? If you let clown officers like this do that.
Who would do that? I mean, do you know anybody in your personal life that if they saw a person on the street would ride their bicycle over their head?
I would, Cenk. I would.
I'm hoping that laugh was assuming that this was... I'm hoping that laugh implies that was a joke. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you go down to the South Central BLM protest and you do that to somebody, you're going to get your ass beat. You're going to get your teeth kicked in and all your bones broken. Oh, but let's look at the comments from the clown-servatives. Sorry, Lucas, I have to borrow your term because it's just too accurate for this. We get shit like this. He wasn't riding his bike. He was walking the bike. That's true, they misrepresented that part. Second, who lays down in the middle of the street? Have you ever heard of civil disobedience? They did this in, I believe it was Washington, D.C.? But more importantly, what does Anna think about Cenk's denying the American genocide? What does that have to do with anything? Conservatives have been doing this a lot lately. Instead of addressing issues, they're starting to just deflect and go, what about the left? All the time, and it's fucking annoying. The one I keep bringing up is the one where I go, let's talk about police brutality. 1350. That's the most common one I get. It's like, okay, we're not talking about that right now. We'll get to that in a minute. Imagine being dumb enough to collapse on the ground when a bike is heading in your direction. Hello, Darwin Department? The cop was walking. He had plenty of time. He saw and he did it willingly. He was walking. You can clearly stop. Hey man, if the cops start arresting people in blue states for having pro-Trump rallies and protests, and they act like this, I'm not going to defend you. I'm going to be like, well, these are the rules you wanted to set up. The dud literally laid down on the road, putting his head right in front of the tire's path as the cop was coming. Okay, so if I'm in a car, and say I'm in a parking lot, and I'm going 5 miles an hour, and a guy walks out and just stops in the middle of the road in front of me, do I get to run him over? You know, it's gotten so polarized at this point that if a right-winger actually ran over some left-winger protest intentionally, and I'm not talking about the issues where they were panic and attacking the car, why do I feel like we're at the point where conservatives be like, well, don't stand in the street, idiot. That's the sound of air whistling between her ears. I can't believe we've gotten to this level of stupidity that I actually have to defend the young fucking Turks. Why the hell are you making me defend one of the most obnoxious progressives on the internet? Because right now, all I'm seeing is the right lacking their ability to critically think. The only crime is not reversing to back over him. Because police brutality is funny when we do it, right guys? He's walking the bike, not riding it. That wouldn't have hurt much at all. Oh, so it's okay then! Wow! And second of all, do you know how heavy a bike is? And that walking over your head, that would hurt, especially with your head on the ground. That would hurt your neck a lot. So just shut up. I'm disappointing he wasn't actually riding the bike. He got off and lifted it over his head. I was just about to laugh. That would have broken his neck probably, and possibly killed him. Again, police brutality is fun when it's against our enemies, because at this point both sides have become insufferable and intolerant. And it made it sound like the cop was physically riding the bike. I've been lied to. Yeah, she was lying about that. The best use of a BLM protester. Speed bump. Oh, so the protesters. Thank you for clarifying that actual protesters are fair game to you. Because I think we need to specify protesters and rioters. Because there is a big difference. Anyway, you get the point. The right is acting like a bunch of fucking clowns. And apparently, I'm just going off of this video, but it just shows there are the ones that think instances of even lower tier police brutality and attacking somebody who is not a threat is funny as long as it's them doing it. As long as it works out in their favor. And to all the right-wingers who laughed at this, if you see a Trump supporter get mistreated by the police, say get unjustly shoved to the ground or hit, don't expect the reasonable people, right, left, and center, to come out and defend you when you act like this. This is a better example of play stupid games.